Boatworks Today is sponsored by Total Boat and Alexial Yacht Coatings, as well as supported by the generosity from the beautiful folks over on Patreon. Thank you so much. So welcome back to the shop, everybody. Hope you're having a great weekend. So my goal for today is to try and get these knees fit and somewhat installed. Ideally, I'd like to have them epoxied in place, but we'll take it one step at a time. Now, in order to get these knees fit, I need to do some shaping specifically along the bottoms of each of these knees, because the hull is shaped somewhat like a V, and the bottoms of all of these are all cut at hard 90s. So I need to taper one end and try and get it close to match the angle of the hull. Now, I'm not necessarily looking to have it fit like a glove, because it doesn't need to, but it needs to be pretty close. If there are any little gaps in there, thickened epoxy, when I go ahead and set these into place, that's going to take up that gap. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to go. I don't have a solid plan on how this is going to actually play out. Pretty much flying by the seat of my pants, by the seat of my pants, which is, kind of has been the nature of this entire project. But one thing at a time, I did make up a fancy little jig. It's just a tapered piece of Kusa, and I've got some silver permanent marker on here. Silver is going to show up a lot better on this Kusa than if I were to use a black marker. So if I had to guess, I think it's just going to be make a mark, do a little bit of shave. Set it in place, make another mark, shave, and it's just going to be a lot of back and forth. So there's a very good chance this is going to end up being a pretty good song you're going to be listening to. So let's get started. All right, so there is one big hump right in here that I've outlined. Much more proud than anything else, between here and here. So I'm going to come in and knock this down. Now, I'm not worried at all about what kind of thickness I might be losing here, because eventually, once these knees are in place, I'm going to be tabbing all this back in, tabbing the knees in. And any material that's removed here is just going to get replaced by tabbing anyways. So I think we're in good shape, but that's gotta go. All right, so far I've gotten the port and the starboard knees done. I still got to redo I still got to tweak the center, but so far I gotta say I'm actually quite surprised with how smooth this has been going. This first one, it kind of kicked my tail a little bit. At in total, I'd say maybe an hour of screwing around. But it's a good fit. At least it's good enough for what it needs to be. And then over looking at the starboard side, this one just dropped. Well, I mean, it didn't just drop right in, but I think I had this thing knocked out in like, like 15 minutes. And that all looks really good, at least in my opinion. Now the center, I'm not sure what I got to do on this one yet. I know I've got to take out a little bit right in there. I think it's kind of getting hung up. The back side of the center one getting hung up on the transom, and that's what's holding it up off of the bottom, but that is an easy fix. All right, so for right now, I'm gonna pull these out because before I can put these in, I need to scuff the surface down along for this knee as well as this one. And then I'm just gonna do some real quick tweaking on this center knee here. I don't know that I'm even gonna include that in the video, but it needs to get done. A little bit of trimming here and there, basically, you know, some busy work. So let me take care of that, and we'll come back when everything is ready to start getting sticky. So first off, good morning. Second, I screwed up last night before I checked out. Now, I'm not gonna give a bunch of lip service. I'm just gonna jump right into it and explaining what happened. Rookie mistake. But I'm gonna try and give myself a little bit of a pass on this one. Let me explain. All right, transom. Now, if I remember correctly where I left off last night, I was gonna get a bunch of sanding done off camera. You know, specifically, I was gonna get these areas here where the knees are gonna be mounted, get those areas sanded down, prepped, and ready to go. So I did that. I also prepped the underside down in here, all 3 locations, and then this top part across here, that was already sanded, so not a big deal. So, but the thing is, after I sanded this, I had to relay my mounting lines, and then I could finally sand the transom. Now, this is where things get sticky, no pun intended. All right, now when you look at the transom here, it's been over a year since I've touched this thing. And the reason I know that is because, well, it was just a little over 12 months ago that I had my first surgery done on my shoulder. And then a few months after that, I had my second one done. So since all of that has played out, I know that I haven't touched this transom at all. And so it's been over a year since I've touched this. And I'm gonna be quite honest, I didn't quite remember what I used when I laid up the glass on here. It's been a long time ago. A lot of things have happened in between then and now. So I go to start sanding the transom after getting my lines remarked on the areas that I just sanded. And well, I know now that I use laminating polyester resin on this. And how do I know? So this is the sanding disc that I was using, and it's looking a little clogged up. Now this happened in maybe 10, 15 seconds. And then looking at the transom, well, you can see the glass, it didn't sand. I'll insert a little picture here of what the sanding fiberglass should look like. See how it's nice and powdery, nice dry glass powder? That's how you want. This is not what you want. This is just basically the resin that started to get warm and it just smeared. It didn't sand, it just smeared. Now, normally, none of this would have been a big deal. However, I was on a little bit of a time crunch last night. So it was roughly 5 o'clock in the evening when I said that I was just going to do a bunch of sanding off camera and then come back when it was time to mount the knees. So 5 o'clock, you know, I'm kind of rushing because I knew my daughter had a softball game at 6 and I told her that I was going to be there. So I'm trying to rush, which is why I said I was going to get the sanding done off camera so I didn't have to narrate anything. I could just knock it out and get it done. So I finished sanding the areas that went well, and now we're talking maybe 5:15-ish. And I started on the transom, and right away it just went completely sideways on me. Now, I have 2 choices at this point. I could either, one, skip the softball game, which my daughter would have been giving me crap for a very long time, and then get this coated, or I say, you know what, it is what it is, I screwed up, just own it and move on. So that's the option I went. Needless to say, I was still a little bit late for the softball game, but I caught most of it. So the other option, which is what I'm looking at for today, is to go ahead and recoat this, seal it all off so I can start sanding. However, that completely blows today from being able to do anything more with this transom. And well, the way the week is playing out, I may not have that little happy ending for this video that I was originally hoping for at the start of this week. But we're gonna see where we go. I can get this coated, I can switch gears and do some stuff on the exterior of the transom, which wouldn't be a bad thing. The more I can get done back there, the sooner I can get the Armstrong bracket back on and get it out of my way. I'm kind of tired of having to walk around that, but I'll think about that as I'm rolling out some gel coat. So for sealing this off, I'm gonna be using one of my good old standbys. It's gel coat that contains wax. Now, the other option I have is to use something like PVA or polyvinyl alcohol. However, because the 1708 on the transom, it's still got a lot of texture to it. Trying to wash off PVA out of all the little nooks and crannies from the texture of that fiberglass is just going to be an absolute nightmare. So that's one reason I'm not going to use that. The other reason is that gel coat, being a thicker consistency, it's going to help to fill in some of the texture on the transom. So at the end of the day, it's going to require less sanding to get a flat surface. So I know that's a question that a lot of people kind of raise up, is why am I always using gel coat with wax? You know, it's not exactly cheap, but it's kind of, I value time more so than, you know, probably $2 worth of gel coat. So for me, it's well worth it. And I think for most people, it just makes a lot of sense. And you can also see where you've coated versus where you've missed. So it's, in my mind, it's well worth the money. Now, because this is essentially going to be a sacrificial coating, because I'm going to lay it up just to cure the glass, and then realize that I don't have any paper towel down here. Nope. Hold that thought. So because this is just really nothing more than a sacrificial coating, I'm going to mix this material hot, because they're on the outside chance that it might set up enough to where I could still sand it down yet today. Although, again, I'm not holding my breath on that one because it's only 60 degrees in the shop here. And, well, gel coat doesn't really do anything real quick at 60 degrees. So I've already shook this up, mixed in or combined the wax that's in here so that the gel coat is going to do what I need it to do. And I'm going to pour out 8 ounces. Now for 8 ounces of material, I'm going to catalyze this at 2%. So for 8 ounces at 2%, I need 5 cc's of mech, or methyl ketone with peroxide. Let's see, here's 5. All right, everything's staged and ready to go. I don't know. We're gonna find out. Cheers. So I'm just gonna give this an initial mix now, get it up on the boat, make sure all the roller trays and rollers are everything all set and ready to go. Then I am gonna mix this some more because I wanna make sure everything is thoroughly combined, because I don't want another setback tomorrow morning. One time a week is enough. All right, well, evidently one screw up a week is not enough, because I just dropped my GoPro 10 feet off the boat, and I think I destroyed my GoPro. So now I am down to 1 camera, and my gel coat is starting to get a little warm in the cup. So now it's officially go time. Give it one last little mixy. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but mixy, good stuff. And I just realized something else. So I'm gonna pour this, I guess I'm just gonna have to narrate this for the time being. Pouring it into a paint tray just to get it into a thinner film to buy a little bit more working time. And I apologize for the angle. I will do better next time, but for right now, I'm racing the clock and I need to get this done. So, let's see if I can screw anything else up today, besides a very expensive GoPro. Now, I'm gonna be laying this gel coat on pretty liberally because gel coat, for one, it's a polyester resin, and polyester resins need to have a certain film thickness in order for it to fully cure. So if you just put it on here paper thin, it's not gonna cure. Wax, no wax, doesn't matter. It's not gonna work. But luckily, because of the texture that's in here from the 1708, I don't think I'm gonna have enough gel coat. Damn it. This is just not my week. So anywho's, once the texture of the 1708 is filled in, that should be adequate film thickness to actually cure everything. Now I'm gonna purposefully stay away from the glass I laid up on these stringer extensions because I think I'm gonna end up adding a little bit more material there. And as it stands right now, it's still a laminating surface, so I'm gonna stay away from those areas as well as up along the top. I didn't think that this surface would still be open laminating after a year of time, but the sandpaper don't lie. I tell you what, the thing that pisses me off the most is right before my GoPro fell. As soon as I let go of it, I took a second look and I'm like, this isn't gonna stay here. And then, whoop, over it went. Crash, bang, I don't know if I couldn't turn it off. It looked like it was still recording, but I couldn't turn it off. It wasn't responding to anything. I don't know what's going on. I probably shattered the frickin' screen. Sweet. All right, well, I had enough material. I'm gonna let this chooch do its thing and see if I can salvage my other camera. Huh? We'll see if it actually works or not. I took the battery out, plugged it back in, turned it on. It said repairing last file. It said it repaired. Now it's working. Displays work. It says it's recording. I don't know if it works or not. I'll have to wait until I dump this on the computer and check it out. But if it works, sweet. So good morning. Well, I started off my day doing the good deed for the week. Completely irrelevant story. But we had a robin drop her egg on the cement about 10 feet on the ground, 10 feet away from her nest. So, being the guy that I am, all sensitive and such, I put on a clean nitrile glove, picked it up, put it in the nest, and lo and behold, Mama came back, and now she is currently nesting. So that's the good deed. Came up to the shop, and then, once again, promptly got my ass handed to me. This is gonna be one of those days. Actually, it's just been one of those weeks. Nothing I can do about it. No point in getting all fired up, but check this out. Okay, Transom, gel coated, right? Last thing we did last night. And like one of my old shop foremen used to say, not supposed to do that. No, not supposed to do that at all. There's a few possibilities of what might be going on here. I'm hoping for one of them, but there are a few possibilities. Now, this is the mix cup, that I did the gel coat in yesterday, and it's starting to set up. I mean, it's not set up, but it's further along than the transom. So as far as the possibilities of what's playing out here, either one, it is possible that the gel coat that I used itself is just old. Now, polyester resin is good for about a year, although I did use this, I want to say less than a month ago, and it worked out fine. Now, I was at the bottom of the can, so that is a possibility. It's enough of a possibility where I can't completely rule it out. The other option is that the mech that I used could have been old. Again, everything has a shelf life. That is a possibility. The other option is that temperature-wise, it just came back to bite me, and it's just a little bit too cool in here. And that's the one that I'm really hoping is the culprit here. Now, while I'm waiting, I am going to do a couple of little tests just to try and see if I can narrow down, what's going on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mix up a small batch, again, sticking with polyester resin, but I'm going to use a different material, one it's a full bottle. So I'm going to mix up a small batch of that with the same mech that I used for catalyzing the gel coat. I'm also going to mix up another small batch of the same gel coat with a different bottle of mech. So depending on what happens here, if the polyester resin sets up with the same mech that I used for this mix, then that tells me that the gel coat was old. If the test batch of gel coat that I used on the Transom, if that sets up using a new bottle of mech, well, then that tells me that the mech was old. And I'm also going to take this, that I mixed up yesterday. I'm going to stick that on top of one of the heat registers here for the night and let it bake. Now, if that sets up, then it's the temperature. But either way, at this point, I've got 3 possible scenarios, and I don't know which one to kind of focus on. So I'm going to get that stuff mixed up, and it's just going to have to sit for the day and kind of do its thing. So in the meantime, I'm pretty much on hold with this Transom. Now, I do have a follow-up question that I raised, I guess it was 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, which is kind of, ways that I can shore up this Transom a little bit more. Now, originally, what I had mentioned in one of my previous videos is by the time I get these knees put in, just with the torque that's going to be on this Transom, once the Armstrong bracket is remounted, I thought that initially that those 3 knees, along with the extension of the stringers, and then the oversizing of the Transom overall, and again, this Transom is 3.5 inches thick with a 1/4 inch of fiber, or 1708 on the exterior, and then a 1/4 inch of 1708 on the interior. 3 inches of core, 1/2 inch of solid fiberglass. I thought that would be enough, and it probably still is, but if a little is good, all is always better. So I had raised the question of, what can I do to possibly kind of stack the cards in my favor here? And a few structural engineers, mechanical engineers, they had piped in and they said that I should be running some type of a brace or reinforcement from the base all the way up to the top of the Transom, possibly in 3 areas. And the more I thought about it, I'm kind of warming up to that idea, because what that'll also allow me to do, in addition to kind of helping to spread some of the torque across the entire height of the Transom, is it will give me a backer that I'll be able to attach the backrest for the seating all the way across. So I guess that's kind of the direction I'm leading, but I'm not quite sure that I fully understood some of the comments as far as having to make some vertical extensions coming up. If I'm on the right track with that, please let me know. If I'm if I missed something in the details, again, please let me know, because I don't want any more setbacks. I've had enough. This week, after this week, I should be good for the next year, right? Right? All right. Same bottle of mech as yesterday. Fresh polyester resin. It's still laminating, non-waxed, but as long as it's not going to be gooey and sticky, that's all I care about. Again, just a small little batch. I don't want to waste material if I don't have to. That is more than enough. And the resin changed color pretty quickly, so that tells me there's more than enough catalyst in here. So now again, just as a bit of a reminder, if this does not set up, then that means that this mech is old. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there to do its thing, keep it out of the way, because my luck, the way my week is going, I'll probably kick the damn thing over. Not today. Not today. now we just gotta wait. Hurry up and wait. Story of the week. You know what? Either the gloves or the bad juju. Couldn't even hit a garbage 3 feet away. Killing it! So now at this point, I've done all that I can do for the day. I've got the old sample, or the old gel coat from yesterday, sitting on top of the register. I've mixed up my 2 test samples. So now it's just a waiting game to see what works and what doesn't. Yeah, and it's Friday afternoon, so that's pretty much the end of this week. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to end this week on a bit of a cliffhanger, which I don't like to do, but sometimes it is what it is. So on that note, I'm gonna wrap this video up. So as always, I hope you enjoyed it. If nothing else, I hope you got a good laugh at watching me get my ass handed to me. I may have to bleep that one out. But anyways, and if you did, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Thank you in advance. I greatly appreciate it. If you have any questions, comments, you just want to ridicule me, I'm a big boy, I can take it. Go ahead and leave those down below in the comment section. I will do my best to follow up with you. And as always, I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Have a great weekend, and I'm ending this on another screw up. So have a great week. I'll see you next Saturday.
This has been a BoatworksToday production.